the Lord. Good afternoon, everyone. You are welcome to today's edition of Leader View. I'm so glad to welcome you to today's live broadcast. Thank you for sparing your time to be part of this broadcast today. I'm sure, I hope you have had a great day in your office, and if you are in the house, I hope your day has been great. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Gboyega Adedeji. Today we'll be looking at an important matter in leadership. We're going to be looking at vision in the light. We're going to see how we can, through vision in the light, secure our leadership edge. Vision in the light. I want us to begin today by looking closely at a particular scripture in the book of Proverbs chapter 24. Proverbs chapter 24, I will read from verse 13 to verse 14, and from there we trust that the Holy Spirit will help us to launch into the day. Alright, Proverbs chapter 24, I will read from verse 13 to verse 14. It says, "My son, eat honey because it is good, and the honeycomb which is sweet to your taste. My son, eat honey because it is good, and the honeycomb which is sweet to your taste. So shall the knowledge of wisdom be to your soul. If you have found it, there is a prospect, and your hope will not be cut off." If you have found it, there is a prospect, and your hope will not be cut off. Now, if we understand what we are actually saying from that verse 13, now a message is being sent to a son. He says, "My son, eat honey because it is good." Now he says, "And the honeycomb which is sweet to your taste." Now see that verse 14. It says, "So shall the knowledge of wisdom be to your soul." If you have found it, if you have found the knowledge of wisdom, it says there is a prospect, and your hope will not be cut off. Now, if you twist that a bit, you could conclude that if you have not found the knowledge of wisdom, even though you have found a kind of knowledge, or you found some knowledge, then there is no prospect for you. And if there is no prospect, then there is no expectation, there is no hope that will not be cut off. Now, it is because there is a goalpost, that is why you could ever score a goal. If there is no goalpost, then you can never score a goal. For instance, how do you know a goal has been scored when there is no goalpost? So the goalpost defines an area in which a goal can be visibly seen to have been scored. Now, without a goalpost, even if you hit a particular target, then you might not be convinced, and no one else will be convinced that you have actually achieved a goal and that you have actually reached a target. So if there is no prospect, if there is no hereafter, if there is no hope, then there can be no expectation that can be cut off or that cannot be cut off. So if we are talking about an expectation that is cut off, it is because there is an expectation in the first place. There is an expectation. There is an expectation. So if there is no expectation, then there is nothing to be disappointed in. Now, my wife usually says something. She says that if you are never expecting anything, then you can never be disappointed. So if you expect too much, then you stand a chance of being either appointed or disappointed. If there is no expectation, there can be no appointment, there can be no disappointment. Now, do you get where we are starting from now? Now, from the verses that we read, that verse 13 and 14, there are few key words that we must not forget. It says, honey, eat honey. So we want to note the word honey. We want to note the word honeycomb, and we want to note knowledge, we want to note wisdom, we want to note prospect, and we want to note hope. We want to note those few things. And from there, the Lord will guide us together towards understanding the place of vision in the light, in securing a man's leadership edge on the head. Now, the question we could ask is, what is this edge? And I really would like to take us through a few explanations on the word edge that I got from the dictionary. And I want us to follow together so that once we understand what edge means, beyond the commonplace understanding or impression that we have about edge, once we really know the nitty-gritty about the word edge, then when we mix it with the word leadership, we can understand that there could be a need for us to secure it or not to secure it. All right. Now, the word edge means a few things, and I listed a few of them. So I want to take us through a few thoughts about edge. Now, it means the outside limit of an object. It's also like a surface or an area, the part furthest from the center. Now, if an object is this on my hand, now you know that this is the center of what I'm holding here. Now, so the edge of this is the farthest part from the center. Now, we are talking about the outer limit. We are talking about the outer. Any part outside the edge, it's a fall away from the surface of the object. Now, if, for instance, there is a table and you stay or you happen to put something on the edge, if the object you put on that edge, if it moves further away from the edge, then it will fall. So the edge is the outside limit of an object. That's the first thing we must note. Beyond the edge, you could fall. All right. The second thought about edge is that it means the sharp part of a blade, knife or sword that is used for cutting. The sharp part of a blade. So if you have a blade as an object in your hand and you want to use it to cut, you know, for instance, that no man holds a blade or a sword or a knife for the sake of holding it. We all hold those objects to use them to cut. Now, the knife, the blade, the sword, they are as relevant as their capacity to cut. So if the edge, which is the sharp part which they use to cut, is not sharp enough, then they cannot be effective, then they cannot be relevant. So you are likely going to discard any knife whose cutting edge is no more sharp as it used to be. So the edge is the sharp part of the blade, the sharp part. So it must be secured, it must be kept, it must be guarded, and it must be sharpened. Now the next thought on the word edge is that it is the point at which something, especially something bad, may begin to happen. The point at which something, you could engage in a conversation and you hear words like, the man got on the edge. He pushed me to the edge. I couldn't do otherwise. I had to attack. I had to defend myself. I got on the edge. Or you hear things like, it was on the edge. It was on the edge. Now, it's at the point at which something, especially something bad, may begin to happen. Now, the last thought on edge is that it means a slight advantage over somebody or something. So if you have an edge over me, then it means you have an advantage over me. You have an advantage over me. So if you have an edge over something, it means you have an advantage over the thing, or something has an advantage. So when you are talking about edge, you are talking about advantage. What makes you to be demanded? What makes you to be sought out? Now, if there is an alternative for sought, then the sought will lose its advantage. The cutting edge, the edge of the sought over every other substance on the earth, is that it is the only material that can do what it does. So that sought has an advantage over other things because of what it can do and only it can do. So your edge is your advantage. So you must secure it. Now, you understand now why we are talking about vision in the light. And we are looking at it in relation to how a man, a woman can secure his leadership edge. Now, when you are talking about leadership, you are talking about influence over a people. You are talking about being relevant among a people. You are talking about giving direction to a people. You are talking about taking a people from wherever they are to a place they desire to be. Now, if you now have a leadership edge, it means there is that point of view that makes you sharp enough, that makes you to be such effective with a people or among a people to the point where they follow your example, they follow your words, and they listen to you. That thing that makes you to have advantage, seemingly advantage over other people. That is your leadership edge. Do you think you should lose it? I don't think so. That's what is making you to be relevant. You should keep it. You should keep it and you should watch over it. You shouldn't only keep it, you should guard it. That is how and why you are relevant. Should you lose your relevance, then you will not be needed, you will not be sought out by anybody. Now, from what we read in that scripture that we started with in Proverbs chapter 24, verse 13 and 14, we saw how the King Solomon advised his son. He said, "My son," he says, "eat honey because it is good. You may not like it. It is good. You may not like the taste. Maybe it gives you a kind of taste in your mouth over time. You may not like, but eat it. It is good for you." Now, it now says, "And the honeycomb, which is sweet to your taste." That's even interesting to know. Something you love to do. Something you are so passionate to do. Something you do and you find fulfillment. You find joy. If you do not do it, you are not complete. It is there that you find yourself really free and really expressive. That's the only point, that's the only place that you really think that you are celebrated. Now, the place, the point, the activity or the action, the behavior, the things you do that makes you really sought out, should you lose it? I don't think so. I think you should keep it. I think you should rather make it better. I think you should guard it jealously. Now, it says, "And the honeycomb, which is sweet to your taste," it says, "so shall the knowledge of wisdom be to your soul." If you find it, then there is a prospect. Now, the question we could now ask is, what is the meaning of the word prospect? Now, from what I found in the dictionary, the word prospect, it means the possibility that something will happen. The possibility that something will happen. If you have found it, then there is a possibility that something will happen. Now, if you have not found it, then there is no prospect. Then it means there is no possibility that something will happen. It has also been said that, some people will say, "I'm a man, a woman on a mission going to happen." Now, it is because there is a prospect. That is why you could tell yourself, "I'm a woman, I'm a man going to happen." If there is no prospect, then there is nothing to happen. There is nothing. Now, another thought about prospect is that it is an idea that might or will happen in the future. An idea that might or will happen in the future. You see, it says, if you have found it, found what? If you have found the knowledge of wisdom, it says that there is a prospect. Then there is a possibility of something happening. And there's a possibility of even you happening. Now, if you look at some people today, you can't find certain things happening in their lives. Some people are really not happening as a people. And when you see some people, it looks as if they are daily evolving. They are daily being revealed. Things that we do not know about them, things being revealed about them. So these are people that are happening. Things are happening and they are making things happen. Now, these are people that have prospects. Now it says, and your hope. It says, if you have found it, then there is a prospect and your hope will not be cut off. The possibility possibility of you ever becoming great will not be cut off. It will not be something that is now and there will be no more. It will be for as long as you live. Now you will emerge, not maybe or maybe not, but as a matter of necessity, you must emerge. You must be revealed. You must be manifested to your generation. Why? There is a prospect. Now, it is because there is a prospect that we can confidently say that you are a big thing going to happen. Now, from what we began with, our discussion is about vision. Vision in the light. Now, see what that scripture says. It says, honey is good for you. It says, honeycomb is also sweet in your taste. It now says, so shall the knowledge of wisdom be. So shall the knowledge of wisdom be to your soul if you found it. Now the question we could ask is, what is the knowledge of wisdom? Now if there is a knowledge of wisdom, then it means there is a knowledge that is not of wisdom. Now what is the knowledge that is opposite of wisdom? Then we could be talking about the knowledge of fools. Now one of the things I know about fools is that a fool, the scripture says it is only a fool that will say there is no God. Now you must also understand that before a fool could say there is no God, a fool must have known there is no God. So a fool also has his own knowledge. So if a man or a woman is a fool, the man has knowledge. But it is the knowledge of fools. It is a knowledge that is originated in folly or in foolishness. Now, there is also a knowledge that is sought out, that is gotten, that is found in the place of wisdom. Now, the scripture says, if you do not find that knowledge of fools, if you find the knowledge of wisdom, then there is a prospect for you. Now, if you look at the word prospect, you will know it's a word that can be used in the place of vision. Now, if you have found knowledge of wisdom, then there is a vision for you. There is a vision that you have discovered, and therefore your hope, your expectation will not be cut off. So your expectation will not only be cut off because there is an expectation in the first place. And that expectation is gotten in the place of knowledge of wisdom. Now there's a scenario for us to consider in the Bible as we are rounding off this session. And I'm sure many of us are familiar with that story. It's in the book of Genesis chapter 13. Now we know that Abraham left where God told him to live with his nephew Lot. So Lot followed him, but it got to a point that the land couldn't contain the two of them, and so there were issues, crisis upon crisis, and so to sort the matter out, now they both agreed that there was a need for them to go their separate ways. Now what happened? Abraham told Lot, he says, pick a side, choose a direction. Wherever you choose, I will choose the opposite of where you choose. And so Lot, who was even the youngest, who didn't say, my uncle, please have the liberty to make the first choice. He quickly went into action. And the Bible says, and Lot lifted, Genesis, and Lot lifted his eyes and saw a plain land, the land of Sodom and Gomorrah. And he chose it for himself. And so, since he had chosen that, Abraham knew he couldn't go to where Lot had chosen. So what did he do? He didn't choose the opposite automatically. He waited. Now, God came to him, and God told him that from where you are, Abraham, look to the north. Look now to the north, to the south, to the east, to the west. As far as your eyes can see, it will be yours. Now let's ask this question. Now when Lot lifted his eyes, did he see anything? I'm sure he saw. He saw a beautiful plain, and so he chose it. Now, that is how many of us in leadership will go into error. Because eventually you will realize that when Lot made that choice, he chose a place, and his entire family and his servants, they all followed him. And when he was to leave that land, he only left the land with his daughters. In fact, there is no reference of him living with other things. Now, he left with his wife, but his wife couldn't go with him. His wife was trapped due to his own lust. Because what the leader taught her was to actually make decisions as he sees with his eyes. Now, leadership is not about making judgments by your eyes. It is not about making choices by the things you see. Now, there's a reference about Jesus, about the coming Messiah. The scripture says he will not judge by the appearances. He will not judge by the sight. His judgment will not be by the things he sees. It will not be limited on the things around him. He will make judgment by the things beyond his environment. Now, for Lot, he made a decision because based on the vision he had, not in the light, but in the dark. He didn't have all the information. He was not well guided. The counsel he had was a limited counsel. And so he saw and he made a choice. That is how many people have made wrong choices. We have gone into different businesses that we ought not to go. We have diversified our investment into wrong portfolios. We've actually gotten married, or we have actually been engaged in relationships with people that we ought not to be, simply because our vision of those people, our vision of those businesses, our vision of those ideas, those projects are captured or are gotten in the dark. Now, in the case of Abraham, he also lifted his eyes. But the scripture says, and God told him, from where you are now, lift your eyes. Now, it is possible for you to lift your own eyes. It is possible for God to lift your eyes. It is possible for you to have an idea. It is possible for God to give you an idea. Don't forget, one of the things we read about prospect is that it's also an idea to happen, an idea going to happen in the future. It is possible for you to capture a vision for your life by yourself. It is possible for God to give you a view into your future. Now, it is only what God gives you as a view that has a chance of ever happening. You see, don't forget, it says, surely there is an end and your expectation will not be cut off. Now, from what we read, it says, if you have found it, there is a prospect for you and your hope will not be cut off. Now, it shows that many people's hopes have been cut off. Many people's hopes of getting married to a particular man, a particular woman, has been cut off simply because the vision they have about the relationship was gotten in the dark. Now, the choices you are about making, or you are making, or you have made, the question is, how did you come to that choice? How did you make up your mind? How was your mind made? Now, the fact that you are working with, are they the correct or the holistic fact towards helping you make the right choices, or they are not? Now, it is important for us to know it is not enough to have great ideas. It is not enough for us to have great vision. We must know that, is this vision gotten in the light, or is it gotten in the dark? Do I have all the facts to make this decision, or am I half-informed? Now, an half-informed leader will make a decision that stands a chance of 50-50. Now, that is a hope that may be cut off or may not be cut off. Now, if you want to move or to live or to lead in the realm where your hope will never be cut off, then you must have a prospect that is built on knowledge of wisdom, not knowledge of folly or knowledge of foolishness. It must be the knowledge of wisdom. It must be vision in the light. It must never be vision in the dark. Now, one of the thoughts that came to my mind is that the poorest vision in the day or in the light is clearer than the best vision in the dark. Now, come to think of it. Now, do you have a camera? Now, if your camera is one of the poorest camera, so it stands a chance of producing one of the poorest vision or picture. So, do you have a camera of, let's say, 2 megapixels? And you know the camera is not strong. Then try and take a picture of it. Just take a picture. Even if your camera is 0.3 megapixels, like the ones of webcams, take a picture of it. Now, let there be no flash. The same light. Use the light to take a picture. Now, compare that picture with a picture that is taken by maybe a 20 megapixels camera in the night without flash. You see, it is not about the megapixels. It is about when the pictures are taken. It is not about you having great ideas. It is not about you going to the best universities in the world. The vision that drives your life, is it taken, is it captured in the light, or is it captured in the dark? Is it captured in ignorance or in folly, or is it captured in the place of wisdom? These are things and these are matters we must meditate on as leaders. You see, for us to remain in leadership, for us to continue to be relevant among the people, we must continue to ask ourselves questions about our vision. Is it a vision in the night, in the dark, or a vision in the light? Is it a vision captioned in ignorance, or the one captioned in knowledge? Is it the one of the knowledge of wisdom, or the one in the knowledge of folly? I hope these few words that we have shared together, that a message has been sent to you. I strongly hope that. Now, one of the things I believe is that leaders are decision makers. And the best decision makers are made by the best leaders. And best leaders are product of great visions. Great vision, not captioned in the night or in the dark, but captioned in the day, captioned in the light, in the face of all facts. Now, all the facts that you need, do you have there? Now, please allow yourself to make decisions after all facts have been reviewed. Do not be hasty in your decision making. Now, hasty decisions will ultimately lead you into making into errors, and so you are likely not to have a particular hope remaining. Your hope will stand to be cut off or not being cut off if the vision that drives that hope is built or is captured or is derived in the dark season. That's the word in my heart, and I'm sure you have gotten your own out of it. I pray that we will become effective leaders, we become great leaders whose leadership edge is secured in God, that we are not worried, we are not confused, we are always effective doing what God has created us to do. And the secret to our effectiveness, especially our consistent effectiveness, is us securing our leadership edge through vision in the light. Let your vision not be that is gotten, that is received in the dark. Let it be such in the night, in the day season, in the light. Let it be in knowledge. Make decisions in knowledge. Don't be assumptions. Don't make decisions under assumption. Don't assume. Be clear. Be very clear before you make your decision. And I see God helping you to become effective leader, leading great organizations, leading great families into God's purpose in this generation. Thank you for the gift of your time. My name is Gboyega Adedeji, and this is Leader View. I hope to see you again next week. God bless you. Stay blessed. Amen.